Like my kids had a ball. There was something going on every weekend, a kids festival or a family day type thing going on. They actually had youth sports on base. And then like we went out and supported the surrounding community. So I assisted as high school football coach and Pop Warner football coach for Daleville, which was right outside the gate of Fort Rucker. There was Enterprise, Ozark, and all that stuff. So it was awesome being there. My wife and I, we've even joked about, possibly me going back to be, a contractor out there working on Fort Rucker. We loved it.
This is great. It's 7:00.
Yep.
Sean, I'll play the theme music and we can let everybody in.
Sounds good. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Veterans Breakfast Club Happy Hour for Monday, February 28th. My name is Sean Hall. I am the Director of Programming with the VBC. And with me is wingman tonight is Executive Director Todd DiPastino. Todd, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Sean, this last day of February.
So we're the last day of February already.
Yep.
We're going to be getting with a couple of members from Mu Beta Phi tonight. We're honoring Black History Month. We're going to be talking about their service and Mu Beta Phi, the military fraternity. I had not only I believe their communications manager, but their co-founder on the Scuttlebutt. We had a wonderful conversation with the both of them and said, hey, link me up with some more of the members. And I'd love to invite them on to Zoom and talk with them about their service. So I'm super excited that Roymel Brooks Sr. and Stephen Church are going to be with us tonight. But before we get to them, we want to first thank our sponsor for tonight is Tobacco-Free Adagio Health. Tobacco-Free Adagio Health is dedicated to reducing and preventing tobacco use and getting the word out about the hazards of smoking and secondhand smoke. They're all about health. So they want people to quit. And of course, the best way to quit is to never start, but they have classes, nicotine replacement therapy, and a popular hotline that is 1-800-QUIT-NOW. They also educate people, children especially, about tobacco use from cigarettes, cigars, pipes, chews, snuff, and other nicotine products like vaping. And finally, Tobacco-Free Adagio Health advocates for public and private policies that ensure health places live, work, and play, healthy places. You can learn all about what Tobacco-Free Adagio Health offers at tobaccofree.adagiohealth.org. You can see that there on the screen. I want to thank them totally for sponsoring the VBC. And we have an event coming up here this Wednesday. This is a big event, Todd.
Yes.
And we have the Lady of Honor here with us tonight. But can you tell us about Wednesday morning?
Yeah, this is our Wednesday morning program at 9 a.m. We are going to be celebrating the 101st birthday of Julia Parsons, our Navy wave. She served in World War II, and she served as a code breaker working on Enigma in the Navy. This is Julia, and this picture was taken, I guess, 1942 or 43, Julia?
43.
43.
Yes.
She had a fascinating Navy career, one of the most fascinating I've ever heard. She's celebrating her 101st birthday on Wednesday, so we're going to have an online birthday party for her. And one of the things that we're going to do is I'm going to deliver 101 birthday cards that I received in the mail. 101 birthday cards. Julia, how are you gonna read all these?
I tell you, I need your secretary.
Yeah, I don't have a secretary, so what do I do? Am I gonna be your secretary?
Maybe you ought to open them all before you bring them. That would be a good idea.
This could be part of your physical therapy. You could open up the envelope. It's probably good for any arthritis you might
Julia,
have.
she doesn't need physical therapy. She's in the top peak of physical health. Julia, you have been probably our mainstay on Zoom for the past year and a half. I think you're here more than anybody else. But Todd, I hope you have insurance for paper cuts.
I have no friends, so I have to use the Zoom for my amusement.
I'm glad that we're here to definitely amuse you. We're here to entertain everyone tonight. But I'm excited to celebrate this 101st birthday. And who's joining us with Julia, Tom?
Tom Pereira. This man on the right is Tom Pereira. He's the world's leading expert on the Enigma machine. In fact, it was great. I sent him a note. You know, you send out these notes, you never know if they're going to, you know, you're going to hear back. I sent him out a note and told him about Julia and said that we're going to celebrate her birthday. And I knew that he was the expert on the Enigma machine that Julia worked on. And he came right back to me and said, yes, I am, and I'll be there, but you've got to swap out the picture that you have on your website of the Enigma machine on the article about Julia, because it's the wrong machine. She worked on the 4-rotor machine, not the 3-rotor machine. So, I mean, he was all over me right away, which is great, that just correcting me. So we're going to have Tom Pereira on Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. Please do join us if you can. Julia, I will be delivering these cards to you tomorrow in preparation for Wednesday morning. And I also want to just say a few words. This is February 28th, the last day of Black History Month. I am a historian, as many of you know, and I've always thought that, you know, Black history is American history, and it's impossible to tell the story of this country without telling the story of Black people in this country. And so it's a little, I always feel a little odd about cramming all Black history in February than the 11 other months doing, you know, other white history. I think Black history should be, you know, integrated into the study of history. But anyhow, the reason why February has been chosen, and it's interesting, February has been chosen as Black History Month, really derives, strangely enough, from George Washington's birthday. George Washington was born on February 22nd, and for many, many years, he was the only birthday celebrated in this country. It was a big holiday for many, many years, 100 years. And then came the Civil War. George Washington was our founder, but the Civil War was a second founding. It was a rebirth, a new birth of freedom. And for that reason, and because Abraham Lincoln was martyred at the end of it, many people who supported the cause of abolition and the Union cause in the Civil War began celebrating Lincoln's birthday. And Lincoln happened to be born on February 12th. I'll say
12th.
February 12th. 12th, right? Yeah, February 12th. So 10 days, you know, before Washington's birthday. Many people combined those two birthdays and called it President's Day. Officially, it's still called Washington's birthday, the holiday, that third Monday in February. But this became, Lincoln's birthday on the 12th became a really big deal in the Black community because it was a way to celebrate the end of slavery, the way to celebrate the new birth of freedom that he represented. And then the added bonus was that there was another birthday, very significant birthday, 2 days later, and that was the birthday of this man, Frederick Douglass, who's the greatest abolitionist in American history. He was also an advisor to President Lincoln and one of the founders of Black participation in the Union Army. Frederick Douglass was born a slave. He doesn't know the year he was born, 1817, 1880. He doesn't know the day he was born, but he did remember that his mother called him Little Valentine. So he chose Valentine's Day as his birthday. And because of that, Carter G. Woodson, and everybody should know about Carter G. Woodson. Carter G. Woodson historians know him very well because he was the founder of this very important journal, the Journal of Negro History. He brought Black history to the very center of the study of American history. He's the only person ever to graduate from Harvard with a PhD who was the son of slaves. His parents were slaves, and he graduated from Harvard with a PhD in history. He ended up founding the Journal of Negro History, and he decided to take Frederick Douglass and Lincoln's birthday and to create Black History Week. And from that, we got Black History Month. Whew. All right, now I'm going to shut up and turn the program back over to Sean. I just had to get that out of my system.
Thank you, Todd. I'm going to welcome both of our guests, Stephen and Roymel, to the program. Gentlemen, thank you so much for jumping on with us with VBC Happy Hour. Really appreciate you spending the time with us tonight. How are you doing tonight?
Pretty good. Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you.
I can't say one person should go first over the other, but I do have to say that Stephen had 20 years in the Army, so I think I have to give seniority to him. So Roymel,
he got it.
I was gonna give it to my little brother there. Didn't handle that.
Nah, seniority first.
Well, Stephen, we'll start with you. I have a great pic that you sent me. I'm going to bring up here on the screen. Both of you sent me these wonderful pics, but you look particularly, excuse the French, particularly like a badass in this picture. But can you tell us a bit about the beginning of your story? You 20 years in the Army. How did you enlist?
Well, I always knew that I wanted to be in the military. I knew I wanted to be in aviation. That was from the jump. My parents, my grandfather used to, put me on his shoulders back in like 83, 84 to go, see the Blue Angels at Miramar. So I was always an air show kid. Every summer that was our thing in San Diego. So I knew that's what I wanted to do. My dad was in the Navy for a little bit on the USS Constellation out there at Naval Air Station North Island in San Diego. So at a young age, I was one of those kids that were 5, 6 years old that could look up in the sky and tell you what type of airplane it was and all that stuff, So I knew that was what I wanted to do in my career. So through high school, I started getting into sports and all that stuff. So, kind of flying and becoming a pilot, kind of fell to the wayside a little bit and my grades weren't too great. So when it came to my senior year, I was talking to the Marine Corps. I wanted to fly F-18s originally.
You're talking to my that's a special place in my heart for the F-18. So I hear you on.
I am a big fan of the Hornet. So that's what I wanted to do originally. Things didn't work out with the way about it that I had to go. They misinformed me a little bit. The recruiter I had, he was really cool, but I guess the knowledge wasn't there exactly of what I needed to do as far as to get there. I knew I had to take the longer route because my grades weren't too good at first. So, I didn't have the grades to go straight into a 4-year university. I had to go to community college and all that stuff first. But at that time, I didn't have all that information. My dad, was in at that time. My dad had transitioned over to the Army Reserves, so his connections in the Navy, in Marine Corps, basically he didn't have them anymore once I got to that age. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. The Marines, they were kind of throwing different jobs at me, firefighter and stuff like that. But that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to stay in aviation. And one thing I was always told was, hey, if you want something, you go after it. Don't settle for anything that you don't want to do. So, my dad was, hey, go check out the Army. I was like, I don't want to check out the Army. They don't have, jets. That's not what I want to do.
Right.
So I kind of waited till the last minute. And then I finally talked to a recruiter. And he was like, telling me about, flying the helicopter. I was a fan of the Apache and the OH-58D Kiowa. I've always wanted to fly gunship. It's something I can shoot from,
Yeah.
What boy doesn't want to do that? We play GI Joes and stuff like that. We're destructive, so talked to the recruiter, and the recruiter was like, you can go enlist into the Army, get you in the aviation field, and you can go be a warrant officer, and they were like, you don't even need a degree for that. And I was like, oh, my ears perked up. You didn't need a degree for that. So, I ended up, signing with the Army back in 1999, went to MEPS and all that stuff. And it was funny. We went in there, when you go in to go pick your job and everything like that, your recruiter doesn't go with you into there. So what I remembered is them asking me what I wanted to do, and I said aviation. So the first thing they threw out was 11 Bravo Airborne. Now, I don't know everything about the military, but with my dad being in the Army, I know 11 series is you're a foot soldier, you're a grunt, and you're out there, and you're kicking in doors, shooting stuff, and airborne, you mean I'm jumping out of airplanes? No, I want to stay in the airplane. I don't want to jump out of it. So,
Right.
so we went back to the drawing board, went through the book some more. One thing that I missed was they had, it was at the time, it was called 67 Tango, which was Black Hawk Repair. So when I asked what that was, they said all it was, just being a mechanic on aircraft. And I was like, well, I don't want to just be a mechanic. I want to fly, So then they were like, oh, well, they told me about the warrant officer thing. And they were like, you go in, they were like, oh, flight operations. At the time it was called 93 Papa. They're like, you do that, you get to talk face to face with the pilots and stuff like that. You pick their brains, learn all that stuff. And then you put in a warrant officer packet and go there. I was like, okay, sold, So, I went to, basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, did my advanced individual training at Fort Rucker, Alabama.
How was Fort Jackson, if I may interrupt?
It was a blur, honestly. Basic training wise, I've been back there. I went to a class out there a couple years before I got out. The Master Resilience Training course. I went out there. It looked exactly the same to me. Nothing had changed I hadn't been to Fort Jackson in 17 years. And when I went back, and it looked exactly the same. Like I was able to take myself, drive over to where our basic training, our barracks were and everything like that, and find everything just like normal. So it was. Did
your dad sort of help prep you for this? Both you and Roymel both had sort of a history of family in the military. I'm guessing your dad was very supportive of this.
Oh yeah, of course. My dad, my grandfather, my grandfather was in Vietnam. Well, both my grandfathers were in Vietnam. On my paternal side, he was in the Air Force, and then my maternal side, he was Marines. So everybody was very helpful. My uncle, he was in the Army. My Uncle Bill. So, he jumped out of the planes, and that's why I knew I didn't want to do that. I guess he had a bad jump one time, and he tore his knee up and had to get medically retired. So I knew, no, I wasn't taking that risk.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. And I did not grow up in a military family. I had a grandfather who served in World War II, but late in it. So it wasn't something that we came up with. He had a couple stories, but your family liked to share those stories. It was a part of like growing up in your household.
Yeah. Like pretty much, it was cool. My cousins would come around, for, Christmas or whatever. We'd be at my grandparents' house, and, my grandfather would, tell us about, stories and stuff, his time and adventures in Vietnam. I believe he was at Da Nang. He told us, about the Tet Offensive, all that stuff, so it was pretty cool, learning that stuff and, saying, hey, my grandfather was there. I also recently found out, I'm a big fan of, Tuskegee Airmen and Red Tails. I don't know if you guys can see in the background, I have a P-51 Mustang back there with, Red Tails poster and everything hanging up. I guess my great uncle, I guess he was a mechanic with the Tuskegee Airmen. So I actually found that when I was in Hawaii, and they have a Tuskegee Airmen plaque that's there. And I was just out there reading, looking at the names on the plaque, and saw the last name Church, and was like, huh. So start, researching. And I mean, it's amazing what you'll find on Ancestry,
Todd, real quick, who was the Tuskegee Airman that we had on our program?
That was Harry Stewart, and he's 97 years old now. I'm going to put the link to that wonderful interview with him in the chat here. This man is amazing. Harry Stewart, I mean, so vivid in his recollections of fighting as a P-51 pilot.
It'll be in the chat, Stephen, if you're interested in checking out that interview. It was definitely fantastic. But jumping back into Fort Jackson, you get into basic, was it a culture shock?
No, it really wasn't for me. No.
Yeah.
Because, my dad is retired first sergeant. So I was kind of used to it, honestly. I've been around, I would go with my dad sometimes, when he'd go check on soldiers and stuff like that. When he was in the reserves, I was always with my dad. So I kind of New basics, etiquette and what to do, what not to do. So it wasn't too bad. The one thing you learn in basic training, well, the one thing my uncle told me, he's like, if your drill sergeant doesn't know your name by the end of basic training, you did a great job.
Right.
So yeah, I almost made it. Almost made it. I was 3 days short, and he realized my name then.
How did he learn your name?
So everything was done. We were cleaning weapons, doing everything, and to get ready for graduation. And we had they gave us our civilian bags out of the closet and everything like that. We were buffing the floors, all that stuff, just hanging out in the barracks. Mm-hmm. And we got done a little early, and we were waiting for chow and everything like that. And they told us just to just pretty much relax. So we're like, okay, cool. So I looked in my civilian bag and I was like, ooh, a CD player. Oh, headphones. So I kind of tucked myself on the floor in the corner a little bit, and I hadn't heard music, music I listened to anyway in what, 3 months, really. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm not doing anything. I'm gonna go ahead and lay right here and put on my headphones. And matter of fact, I was listening to, what was I listening to? I think it was the Rough Riders Volume 1 CD. And I'm sitting there, I have my eyes closed, and I'm just vibing. And next thing I don't hear anything because my headphones are so loud, but I can feel the rumbling on the ground of everybody scurrying, right?
Yeah.
So as no one wanted to tap me and let me know, hey, church, drill sergeant's coming or anything like that. They left me there. So I'm laying back, and I feel the rumbling. I'm starting to get up. And as I'm taking the headphones off my head, drill sergeant comes around, looks at me, and he flipped a lid, had me go in and grab their little mock AT4. So I'm sitting here doing, knee raises, running in place with the AT4 over my head, going into muscle failure and all that stuff. And he goes, I didn't even know you were in my platoon. What's your name again? And I was like, Private Church. He goes, Private Church. Oh, I got you now. Da, 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 da. And man, it was, yeah, that was a nice little workout there. So
yeah. So this is 99. This is before 9/11. So mm-hmm. It's pretty peaceful planet at that point. Where did you go from basic?
From basic, I did my AIT. Advanced individual training at Fort Rucker, and then from Fort Rucker I went to Schofield Barracks,
Hawaii.
Yeah, that was excellent. Being able to say I graduated from high school, I'm 18 years old, and I don't live with my parents, and I live in Hawaii. Yeah, can't get better than that.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
How long did you spend there?
The first time I was there from 2000 to 2003, so 3 years there. The first time.
And this is something maybe I don't fully understand, not being a civilian, is you go from basic, advanced individual, then you go towards your specialty and your MOS, and you start to learn your craft?
AIT, that's your advanced individual training, that is your specialty.
Okay.
So that's where you go get that training there. And then mm-hmm. that's where you go to your first unit after that.
What do you think of that training? Because it took you a while to sort of find that particular MOS, once you got your hands into it, how'd it feel?
It was actually, I rolled right into it. I excelled. I was one of the top people in my class at that time. February of 2000. But yeah, I mean, I remember the first thing we went into is, it was called aircraft designation. Well, I already knew all that because, like I said, as a kid, I learned all that stuff. So, mm-hmm. I knew what the the letters and the numbers were, on aircraft. So, I excelled in that. So that first week they made me like class leader and all that stuff, and, mm-hmm. Kind of helping everybody. And we all got through. Everybody was pretty close knit. There was, little competition as far as, bragging rights and stuff like that. But everybody, we knew we were all a team. We were graduating together and all that stuff. So we all made sure that we left nobody behind, and everybody graduated together.
We had a program for quite a while called Generation 9/11, and something we always talked about on that was obviously, since it was this generation, my generation that is serving and mostly from 9/11. Were you in Hawaii during 9/11?
Yes, I remember that day vividly. That was just, it was so hectic that day. You know, I had
It was quite early there that morning.
Yeah, it was, I want to say it was like 6 a.m, somewhere around there, 6, 7, something like that. I had just got off of my shift, my flight op shift, had went back to the barracks, to catch a nap before I went down to the chow hall. I dozed off and fell asleep, and I remember hearing commotions in the hallway, and then I remember getting a phone call on, you know, we didn't have cell phones back then. It was still, you know, our barracks phone. It was cordless though, I'll give you that. So we were ahead of the curve there. So get a call, and it's my roommate. Guy was like, hey, turn on the TV, turn on the TV, turn on the TV. It's like, you know, okay, whatever. I turn it on, and it's on the news and everything, breaking news and all this stuff. I'm half asleep. So you see the first tower smoking or whatnot, and I'm like, what movie is this? What are we watching? Like, what's going on? And they're like, no, that's for real. That's in New York right now. I'm like, okay, well, what happened? There was something, you know, a fire caught fire. And they're like, nah, a plane went into the building. No way. Yeah, right. You know, yeah, right. Okay. A plane went into the building. But then when the second plane hit, and that one was caught, you know, seeing it actually hit, and it was just like everything just stopped in time. And it was like, you know, we joined, you know, kind of with that Cold War mentality. You know, something can happen, but what's the likelihood if it's really not gonna, you know, nothing's really going on. You know, I think that's why my mom was so calm with me joining the military, because nothing was going on at the time. You know, there was no major conflict. So when that happened, you know, everything changed. I remember we were called down to the barracks. We all had to pack a bag, go down to the barracks, because we didn't know who's getting deployed, you know, if who's going to be the first to go and all that stuff. So I remember we were sitting at the barracks getting accountability and all that stuff for a while. Then they let us go. They let us leave for a little bit, let us go back to our rooms. And I remember, you know, my defiant self, you know, I went to go, you know, check on family and all that stuff. So, you know, I actually left base, which I wasn't supposed to, but luckily I didn't get in trouble. But if, you know, my first sergeant back then, or whoever's watching, yeah, I'm retired now. I can't get in trouble.
I think there's a statute of limitations on that, at least.
Right. So, you know, and I got back on the base and everything just fine. But, you know, it was just that we didn't know. It was that uncertainty of what's going on. Are we going to Afghanistan, you know, and all that stuff? We're going to Iraq, you know, we didn't know.
Was there a feeling on the base of, all right, it's game time, let's do this? Like
a lot of anger.
Like I want to be first on the line.
It was a lot of anger. I mean, I remember, you know, a couple of weeks later, you know, us going to the range and all that stuff. I mean, people were zero focused. You know, we were zeroed in on, you know, getting the best marksmanship. You know, it sometimes, you know, people would settle for certain scores or whatever, but I think everybody was going back and, no, I want to up my score some more. I want to go again. You know, so it was real. You know, we knew it was game time. So yeah.
Was there any bit of like fear as well? Was there like a mixture of emotions?
Yeah, I mean, you have that in the back of your mind that, you know, something could happen. You know, at that time, I hadn't experienced any friends passing away, you know, in the military or anything like that. So it was something that you kind of, it's in the back of your mind that, hey, you know, something could happen, but, you know, you're not really, it's not real yet. You haven't experienced it, you know? So me, I actually ended up PCSing out of leaving Hawaii before they actually came down on orders to deploy.
PCSing?
Permanent change of station.
Okay.
So I got sent out here to California for my first tour at Fort Irwin from 03 to 06. And I think the unit I was in, 3rd Squadron, 4th Cavalry, they deployed in 2004. So, and then at that time, that's kind of, to me, that's when it got real.
Which is pretty far into it, really. I mean, 2001, even up, you're into Iraq War at that point, 2003. So
yeah, everybody else, but you have your big units, your 82nd Airborne, your 101st, 10th Mountain. Those guys were the first ones to get the crack at it.
Mhm.
The 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, they all went first.
Mhm.
And then everybody else trickles in, gets rotated in after that.
Right.
So yeah, I just missed out on it. Honestly, from when I deployed, I actually had to beg to deploy, to get my chance to go. I was all over the place. It seemed like I had never re-enlisted and asked, for a specific location. The one time I did ask, it was to Italy, but I didn't get the requisition or whatever. So I didn't even get to go to that. But everything else, it was at the needs of the Army. And, it just so happened that, I was missing deployments because of where I went. They weren't deploying, so yeah, it took, I didn't have my first deployment until I was in for 9 years.
Wow. That seems odd to me. It seems like
Right.
most people would be deployed pretty soon, especially, going into wartime.
Right. See, well, when we went in 2003, when I got to Fort Irwin, nobody deployed from Fort Irwin at that time. It was more of Fort Irwin is training, basically we train the guys to get ready to go to war. So, 11th ACR, I think they had their first deployment while I was there, but I was in the medevac unit at the time. And the medevac unit was, stuck there on Fort Irwin. They didn't deploy anywhere. So yeah, my whole time there, obviously I didn't go anywhere.
You'd mentioned that was when things started to get real.
Yeah.
And why was that? Was it because people you knew were there, or?
Right. So when 3rd Squadron 4th Cav, when they deployed to Afghanistan, they went to Afghanistan first. My squadron commander at the time, Colonel McMahon, he was awesome commander. And then Travis Grogan, he was one of the Kiowa pilots that was really cool with me every time he came to flight ops and all that stuff. They actually passed away in a aircraft accident while out there. So that was my very first experience of someone I knew actually died in war. A couple weeks later, Specialist Cuervo, which was a friend of mine, he was a 19 Delta. He ended up passing away. I think he hit a roadside bomb in a convoy and he passed away. So, that was my experience of like, wow, this is real,
When you deployed, what was it like?
So when I deployed, I was with 225 Aviation in Hawaii. And like I said, I had to beg to deploy because I was actually not even in that unit. I was stationed at Fort Shafter working for the CG. I used to coordinate his Gulfstream jet for when he would have to go out to different countries or stuff like that for conferences and stuff like that. So I had to talk to my full board colonel and my sergeant major to get me over there. And my deal was at that time I was an E5 sergeant, and I was like, hey, I got guys that are PFCs and specialists under me that have deployed, and I don't have that experience. So what is that going to look like? Me trying to tell them how to do something, and they got that combat experience. I don't. So and they told me if I could find someone to replace me in a unit on Schofield that would switch out with me, then they would approve it.
Sounds like a good feather in your cap. Like, if you can find somebody as good as you are, then you can go.
Right. Right. So I found one of my battles, Dora Joseph. She was awesome. She had just had a baby, and she was in 225. And I know, she could do stuff, even better than I can. So, she was the one tapped for it. She was more than willing to come over and take my place, and I would take her place. And it worked out.
And you were in Iraq?
Yeah, I went to Iraq. I was at Cobb Spiker in Tikrit.
you get over there, and I mean, like you said, came out of high school, suddenly you're in Hawaii, you're back in the States, but eventually you're in Iraq. That to me would, I think, would be the culture shock. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's different. You know, you get out there, when you get off the plane, it's dark, but it's super hot, like as if it was daytime. We were at Camp Buring at the time, and I just remember, like, I remember the next morning getting up off of a cot and walking outside, and it was super hot, and I just remember like, what did I do? You know, honestly, it was like, what did I do? There's dirt everywhere, porta bodies. You could smell it. Just the smell was different. It was just, you know, and it was, you know, but like I said, we had a great team in our S3 shop, S3 and flight ops. Sergeant Dansbury was awesome. Sergeant Chill, Sergeant Keith. That, you know, we had an awesome team. Our soldiers underneath us were cool. So we kept it lively out there with jokes and pranks and stuff like that, kind of to keep the morale up out there.
Totally.
But yeah, once you're over there for like 2-3 months, you're in a groove, and it's just normal.
It's just your job at that point. Did you ever have to go beyond the wire?
When I went out the wire, it was in an aircraft, so it wasn't anything major. You know, you see tracers in the background, you know, but it's nothing that there was nothing that really freak you out.
Right.
Well, it didn't freak me out at all. But yeah, you know, just going from different fobs, you know, you got to go to different places, especially if your soldiers have to go somewhere. Like I called it a week vacation because one of my soldiers had to go get some dental work, and the place was on Camp Freedom, I think it was. So we flew out there, and we stayed in the transient tent and all that stuff. And all we did really, like, I took him escorted him to his appointments, went to the PX, ate, you know, just like kind of ventured around. And then it was funny. I found my dad, when he deployed a couple years before I did, I found the police station, because my dad was actually he was an MP, so he was the police chief over there on that base. So I found their old office and his old pictures and logos. So, you know, took some pictures, sent that back to him. He was kind of happy about that, excited. You know, I got to go see where he was at, you know, while there. So
awesome. Well, Stephen, stick with us. There's so much more to your story, especially 20 years. Roymel, I don't know if you're heading back in right now. I know that you're bouncing around to an appointment. I don't know if you can hear me. Let's see if I can ask him to unmute.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, are you at a good point? You can chat?
Yeah, I can chat.
Okay, great. Stephen, thanks. We're going to come back to you because I want to hear a lot more about how you came out and then got into Mu Beta Phi. But first we want to get to Roymel and his story. But how are you doing tonight, Roymel?
I am great. How are everybody out there doing today?
Doing good, thanks. Thanks for your patience as we talk with Stephen. You know, I want to hear more of your story too before we kind of combine you guys and really hear about what you're up to with Mu Beta Phi. Because from what I hear from Gary, the co-founder, and Greg, you guys have a lot of great things coming up. But first, I wanted to talk with you a bit about your service. And we chatted a bit before we started tonight about how when you came into the service, you were dealing with something pretty tragic in your own right. Can you talk to us a bit about what it was like when you enlisted?
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. Again, my name is Roymel Brooks. I am my big brother and we have 26 years. I got 6. So yeah, I got the shortest of time. But for my story, it just takes me back to when my mom passed away. Like I said, earlier when we was talking, my mom gave me up for adoption when I was 2. I lived with my grandparents from when I was 2 to 9. And then from 9 until 10, I lived back with my mom. Me and my mom didn't have a good connection. So I was always that quiet kid that just plays sports. You'll never know I'm home, but when I come in the house, you'll be like, oh, dang, you here? Yeah, I'm here. I was an athlete in high school, didn't get the chance to be the receiver I wanted to be. So I went to junior college. got hurt my first year during college, and then I had to make a decision. I was like, do I come back or do I sit out and, just go to the Army? So talking to my mentor, who was in the Navy for 28 years, he was like, I think the military is the best for you. So I was like, nah, I'm gonna give it one more shot. I'm gonna do one more year of football and see what type of scholarship I get. Mm-hmm. So did my year, and I wound up getting two Division I scholarships, mid-major, and then the rest of them was nothing but like NAIAs and Division IIIs where I had to pay my own way. Living in the inner city of LA, I didn't have the money to pay my own way. So my mom became real sick around this time during my process. I'm sitting around here traveling, visiting schools, but my mom was back at home sick. Like I told you guys, we didn't have a real connection, but that's still my mother. So I had to do what I had to do to take care of her. Like one time my grandpa would be at the hospital, then we'll switch off and I'll go to the hospital and I'll be there, or I'll be at school and I come from school and go straight to the hospital. And so around this time, my mom, we all lost our house. So think about a one-bedroom apartment with 20 people. Well, not 20, but 10 people living in there in a one-bedroom apartment. And me, I slept on the table. So I had to step on the table with my computer and I just slept like that. And I'm like, I can't do that. The realization was like, I can't do that. Either I go to school or go to the military. So again, around that time, I found some time, went to crew's office. I was like, hey, I originally was supposed to I wanted to join the Navy, but I'm like, I can't swim. I can't swim.
You'd be surprised how many Navy guys don't swim. It's nuts.
I was like, I can't swim. So I was like, all right, let's go in the Marines. And then I'm sitting here watching a basic training tutorial on my computer during the class. And I was like, they crazy. I'm like, they crazy. I can't do it. I can't do it. And I wasn't good enough I didn't have the grades to go into the Air Force. So I was like, hey, why not the Army? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go in and see what they say. So the very first time I went in and took the test, I didn't pass. I got 28. I was discouraged and I was like, no way, I'm not gonna let this put me down. So I took the test again and got a 31. I was happy. I was like, yes, I'm finally about to leave this place and everything. And then it came to picking a job. And I'm like, what job do I do? What job am I good at? I'm an athlete, so I don't have sports in the military. So what am I good at? And I let my recruiter talk me to becoming 11 Bravo. He was like, yeah, you can do badass stuff. You get, excuse my French, but you get to do stupid stuff. You get to jump out of airplanes. I'm like, jump out of airplanes? Okay, let's go. Let's go. So I got my contract. I want to get my contract for airborne and Ranger school. So, like I said, I tested out for it. I had a high PT score at that time, and I wound up getting it. And so I'm in basic training. I went to, for my basic training, I went to the home of the infantry, Fort Benning, Georgia, the best place in the world to go to basic training, unlike Relax in Jackson. But it was you talk about culture shock earlier, that was my culture shock. Because I was around, I'm so used to being around a certain style of people. I was placed with another style of people where I had to adapt and then overcome problems to get where I need to go, and that was to graduate. Don't get me wrong. My big brother said something about the drill sergeants not knowing the name. Well, my drill sergeants knew my name because I was a sprinter, and we did sprints a lot. And I used to always beat him in sprints, like flat out beat him by meters, and to the point where he'll be like, freeze. I'll be like midway to the end. He'll be like, freeze. And I have to stop. And he'll beat me. And he was like, now get down and start doing push-ups for beating me. And it was funny. But like I said, I did my AIT at Fort Benning. And then I wound up shipping off to Fort Carson, Colorado. And I spent most of my career at Fort Carson, Colorado.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned sort of the culture shock, going from sort of inner city into the military and then having to deal with sort of the teamwork atmosphere that you were sort of thrust into. How was that developing with the other guys that you were in training with? I'm gonna be honest with you. The first week, it was easy. I'm gonna say the first week was easy because what they have now, I don't know if they had it back in the day. They had an entry program where you can come in. You could came in and did some training with your recruiter on military etiquette training, PTN, all that crap.
So I did it prior to joining to going to Fort Benning. And once I was at Fort Benning, it became easier. But then when I actually got to my platoon and they actually put me in a leadership role, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of failed at it because I didn't know how to lead. I just knew how to do. I know how to do. Like, if you tell me to do something, I'm gonna do it. And if I know somebody who can't do it, I'm gonna do it myself. And I kind of didn't rely on nobody at that point because I was like, I didn't trust nobody. Like, for me, I have a big thing with trust. If I don't trust you, then I'm not gonna believe you can complete a task. And it wasn't until my drill sergeant set me down. It was like, look, you're doing everything great, but we need you to dial it back.
It must be really busy.
Dial it back and just let everybody else do the work. And like I said, it was good. I got it.
Mr. Brooks, hi. Good afternoon to you. My name's Christine.
Stephen, we'll pop back over to you once Roymel is ready to go. We'll let you chime right in, Roymel. As soon as you're ready, just chime in. But Stephen, pop it back over to you. Let's jump forward a bit and talk a bit about you come out. Did you know anything about military fraternities at that time? Actually,
I didn't. I found out about Mu Beta Phi during my I was going through what they call it used to be called ACAP. But this one is the Soldier for Life program, basically, where they give you, all the tools and everything you may need in order to, to be successful when you get out. So they call it SFL TAP. That's what it is. Soldier for Life. Yeah. So that's what it is. One of my friends who is actually the same MOS as me, 15 Papa. He was retiring at the same time. Well, retiring a couple months before me. But on one of our breaks, he was already a part of Mu Beta Phi. He had been in for a few months and, gave me a brochure and kind of asked me, if I heard about Mu Beta Phi. And I'm like, well, what is it? And he's like, it's a military fraternity. And I'm like, fraternity, like fraternity, like they do in college? And he was like, yeah, sort of, kind of. And, he was like, you should look into it, and gave me the brochure and everything like that. And I was like, yeah, I'll look into it. So I looked into it. And then kind of, I had called another friend of mine and was telling him about it. And he was like, yeah, I was going to call you and tell you about military fraternity. And I was like, yeah, their colors are like turquoise and gold and stuff. He was like, nah, these guys are like purple and black. And I was like, huh? And so I Googled them. I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool and all that stuff. But then I went back to Mu Beta Phi and I'm like, man, these guys are in, suit and ties and when they got their line jackets on, I like the colors and all that stuff. And then reading about, what they're about, giving back to the communities, veteran and the local and veteran communities and the stuff they were doing with kids and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what, this seems like more of my speed over here. So the next day I had talked to Lamont and he was like, well, what do you think? And I was like, you know what, I think I might go ahead and do this, man, sign me up. So after talking to Lamont called our founder, called Gary. And what I thought was really cool is a founder called me. The founder reached out to me. I didn't, usually when you think a founder's untouchable, you never really see them, you don't really talk to them, stuff like that. But one thing about Gary, he laughs and jokes with all of us, and stuff like that. So, for him to reach out to us, reach out to me and tell me about it, and it made me feel welcome before I even accepted, putting the invitation out there. So I knew that's where I wanted to be and that's what I wanted to do. And I even called, I called a few people. My first sergeant I had at that time, Michael Everett, I got him on. So my old first sergeant was my line brother. One of my soldiers at the time, Christopher Gooding. He's I called him. He was like, yeah, I want to do it too. So myself, him, and Everett, we're all in the same unit, and we all did it together. We all crossed the sands together.
And that's something I really learned about Gary when I had the conversation with him on the scuttlebutt was he has a large amount of pride in this organization.
Yeah.
And he wants guys who want to be Mu Beta Phi. He wants them to be there for the right reasons and to sort of and help not only spread the word, but to help create community. And that's something that really aligned us with them. VBC is creating community. Can you talk to me a bit about the mission of this military fraternity? Because there are a lot. Something I learned in talking to Gary. There is a lot of military fraternities across the country. In fact, there's many sororities too, I guess.
Yeah.
But what sets Mu apart from all of them?
I think honestly, it's the professionalism, how we carry ourselves, and what we go out to be in the community. We're stewards of our servants of our community. So everything we do, we got to make sure that it's in a positive light. We don't want to bring any negativity to Mu Beta Phi. There's no place in it, for it. One of our things, with fraternities, a lot of people think about hazing. It's zero tolerance for hazing. Whether it's mental, whether it's physical, anything like that. But giving back to the kids, the Mighty Warriors program. I'm out here in California. We haven't set ours up yet, but how we participate in the Mighty Warriors program, like a few months ago, we had a youth Pop Warner team that was having trouble raising money to. They made it to the national championship, which was played in Florida. And these are inner city kids that. They may not have the financial backing to be able to make it out there. So we sponsored a few of the kids so that they can make that trip out there to Florida to play the game that they deserve to play in. They got there. So, we wanted to, make sure we help them out to, so that they're successful. And they see that there's people out there that may not be family, but there's strangers out there that have their best interests at heart and that want to see them succeed. And be great pillars of the community when they grow up.
It's something I asked Gregory when we were talking with him as well, is I'm sure that you learned something about leadership while in the military, and how does that translate to your work with Mu Beta Phi?
Well, with everybody being in the military, we're all leaders. At some point, sometime, we're all leaders. So everybody has a leadership role. Out here in California, Royal Court Lambda, we're fairly the newer of the Royal Courts. We got our charter in July of 2021. Matter of fact, Roymel is part of it as well. He's our membership coordinator in our court. But just getting out, I was one of the only ones in California still. Mike Everett and Christopher Gooding, they PCS. Chris is out in Germany and Mike is in Texas now, so it was kind of like on my shoulders to kind of stand up California and get the ball rolling. And we have the ball rolling out here. We have 18 Kings out here in California.
What does that mean? 18 Kings?
18. We call ourselves Kings. We're the Mighty Beta Kings of Mu Beta Phi. Mm-hmm. So that's our moniker. We are the kings of the military Greek letter organization community. So so we have 18 guys, men that are, some active duty Navy. We got Air Force, Army,
and all ages too, all generations.
All different ages. And we come together. We just had we did community service this past Saturday at the High Desert Second Chance Food Bank, where we were making food, we were putting fresh produce and different canned goods and all that stuff into boxes and crates for people to come through and pick up as they needed. So we helped out with that, did really well with that. It was really successful. And they were happy to have us there. The staff was great. So that's going to be a place that we frequent up here in the High Desert. Mm-hmm. Our community service coordinator, he coordinated for us to do the Wreaths Across America that we do every year. With California being so large, we have Kings in Northern California, myself, Roymel, and a few others. We're up here in the High Desert. And then we have some of our members down in San Diego, which is about 2.5 hours away. So we all met in the middle at Riverside National Cemetery to make sure we honored our fallen for Christmas and laid Christmas wreaths on their headstones and stuff like that. So that's one of my favorite community projects that we do around the holidays. And then, you know, our homeless clothing drives and food drives and stuff like that too.
Nice. Well, I saw that Roymel was back, but I'm not sure if he's, can you hear? Oh, there you are. Great. No, we're popping around a bit, but that's only because we're trying to catch Roymel in the middle of appointment. And I appreciate, Roymel, that you're spending the time with us tonight, despite being in sort of an appointment situation. So I really appreciate it.
It's good. Like I said, I was excited to be on here. So nothing. My big brother tell you nothing will stop me when I got my mind going on.
That's good. You tell them hold on. They tell us to hold on all the time. You tell them hold on. Jumping back into your story, so you were in for 6 years. When did you enlist?
I enlisted in the beginning of 2013.
Okay.
So I mean, like my mom died in the last part of 2012 in October. I signed my contract 2 months prior to her passing away, before she passed away. And I was supposed to ship off on the day she passed away. My recruiters and everything, I talked to my recruiters. I had to go in front of a full bird colonel. It was like, hey, I'm not going to flee. I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to go to her funeral. And then that next week, that Monday, I ship out to basic training with my other fellow service members.
Once you got through AIT, where did you go from there?
Fort Carson, Colorado. Now that another culture shock for me, because I'm so used to a big city, and coming to Colorado Springs, it was like everything was so far in between. Like if I wanted to do something fun, I had to go 45 minutes away. And at the time I didn't have a car, so I had to always hitchhike rides with somebody, or just, you know, get in when I fit in to get somewhere where I need to go.
Okay.
And were you deployed pretty soon after that?
No, sadly, I didn't deploy at that time. But while I was at Colorado, I got to experience something most don't experience. I got to be my commanding general's personal driver. So wherever he go, I go. So during that time, he wound up going to Germany. I went to Germany. I went to China. I got to go to Washington. I got to travel a little bit just with him alone, because again, I'm his personal driver. So I go with him everywhere, from when I pick him up in the morning to driving him to the office to driving him to the field. Like again, some might not know, but I was a striker driver before I was his driver. So if most don't know, a striker is a infantry carrier vehicle. It's similar to the Bradley, but it's an eight-wheeled vehicle that's fast maneuver and to get service members in and out. And I started off as his driver. And we began to talk again to pick his brand, because again, I'm a specialist and I'm sitting here like, I want to do bigger and better things. I want to advance my career, probably go green to gold, or hey, go warrant officer. Cause I heard warrant officer was like the thing to do at that time. So I was like, okay. And who not to pick their brand was to his. And
why was warrant officer the thing to do at that time?
Because one, you didn't need a degree. You didn't need a degree. And I was closer to getting a degree, but I didn't have the graduation certificate to prove that I was graduating. And two, I wanted to expand my career. I didn't want to always be infantry my whole life. I wanted to do, like my big brother said, aviation. I wanted to fly helicopters, or I wanted to just, be around, something that flies. And again, Army, we only deal with helicopters. So I was intrigued to be a pilot. I wanted to be a pilot. And like I said, I picked his brain. I also picked certain other officers' brain just to see where I stood at and where could I go in my military career. Unfortunately, that path that I wanted to go to didn't occur. I wanted to go another route. I wanted going back to my old unit where I became a striker driver again. And then I wanted to become a team leader, where I was a TC. And I just took my career at that point. And then I wound up PCS into Fort Irwin. And like I said, I finished all my career at Fort Irwin, and it was good because I experienced all three sides, where I was the blue 4, which we go against the out 4, Then I was OPFOR, where I go against the Blue 4, and now I'm a private contractor where I train the trainers to train the Blue 4 to get ready for them to deploy or go back to their home station and continue training.
A little like Stephen, you had military service also run in your family.
Yes. My great-grandfather, Lieutenant Colonel James Lee Brooks, served in the military. He was born in 1920. So again, when he passed away, I was young, I was 6, but my great-grandmother used to tell us stories about him and his service, and like he was in every major battle he was in. He started off as a mechanic in the Tuskegee program, but then he wound up getting his degree and becoming a first lieutenant in the 82nd. But then, like I said, history gets fuzzy, and next thing I know, like I said, he passed away. Only thing we have is his medals and his flag at home and all his medals of all his decorations, and it encouraged me. Like I said, it encouraged me because, like I said, we really didn't talk to my grandma back the time when we moved to California, but the times we did talk to her, she always talked about his accomplishments and how proud she was of him joining the military and etc. And my grandmother, his oldest daughter, was a specialist in the medical corps. She was like one of the first privates in the medical corps, but then she wound up getting out. She only served 3 years and she got out. So, and there was a gap of, I think, 20 years before I decided to join the military. And then my first cousin, who's 6 years younger than me, joined right after I medically retired from the military.
What was it? You're coming from, like you said, inner city, going into the military, it's this culture shock, but did you ever think that you'd be shipped all around the world and see all these places?
Honestly, no, I wasn't. Like I said, my first, I've been out throughout the country. That's one thing, but actually going overseas and seeing things like Germany and hearing the stories about Germany and going to China and actually experiencing China for a couple of days and going back to Germany, going to Hohenfeld and Poland, it was big. It was big for me. And then on my off time, when we have a week off, I went to Greece, got to experience Greece for a little bit. And like I said, my minor in college right now is history. So I'm a big Greek mythology type person. So when I got back to Greece and I got to learn a little bit more about Greek mythology and Spartan and Athens, it was just amazing. It was just amazing. And like I said, did I wish I could have went over there and got stationed over there and experienced more? Yes. But again, fate didn't have it that way. And again, I'm a contractor now, so I'm happy where I'm at, training the trainers to get ready to deploy and fight for our country.
And then you mentioned military, you're retiring because of medical problem. What actually happened?
So my first year in the military, we had a terrible vehicle accident. I had a traumatic brain injury my first time in a vehicle. And I was seat belted. I was strapped in. We was on a night ops mission, training, doing our normal. And next thing we know, we hit a ditch. I go flying out of the vehicle and back in and back up. And my ACH wound up falling off somewhere in between me going out of the vehicle and in. And I wound up hitting my head on top of the ceiling. Got knocked out. Okay, that's one injury. The second injury happened when we was at gunnery. I'm on top of a vehicle, inspecting my vehicle, doing the right thing, inspecting my vehicle because it's snowing, making sure everything's operational because I'm trying to go for Top Gun. If any 11 Bravo out there know about Top Gun, Top Gun was big and it still is big. And I wound up slipping off my striker and landing and twisting my knee and dislocating my kneecap. And that was the beginning of my end of my career because my knee wasn't the same and it just kept on progressing, getting worse and worse and worse. And then, I wound up getting to Fort Irwin to the point where I was climbing the mountain. My first day there, they sent us to the box, wound up climbing the mountain, and I wound up slipping and wound up rolling and hurting my knee again. And I was like, I was thinking about my future, thinking about my kids, running around my kids. And then I was like, I couldn't do it no more. And then I was like, I'd rather save myself and then just take my losses here. I mean, it was fun while it lasted, but I took my losses.
You come out. How did you find out about Mu Beta Phi?
My big brother, I know he's probably over there smiling, but so in the midst of me moving back to California, I wound up joining a football team, the High Desert Rams semi-pro football team. And we were at practice one day, and I don't know what I was doing or how I was feeling, and I guess I was like out of it. And my big Steven came up to me and just handed me the card. It was like, hey, come talk to me. I know what you're going through, but come talk to me. And at first I was like, I took the card and tossed it. I was like, I don't got time to talk to nobody. I don't got time for nobody to be into my business. I'm so tight-knit that I don't let nobody else into my business. But I kept on seeing the card on my floor. I was like, why? What is it about this card is like striking? So I guess, and he could tell you, one night I'm at work and I just hit him up like, hey, tell me what Mu Beta Phi is all about. He tells me what it's about, and he could test about, I think 3 weeks later, I'm like, here's my $300. Let's go. Let's get it in. And hey, everything else is history. I'm in.
You had mentioned earlier about sort of having like, trust issues, being able to trust the people around you, and how do you think that has developed to the point now with Mu Beta Phi and being able to trust your brothers in that fraternity?
It was a challenge because during our intake process, we are called squires, and we have LBs to the left and right of us that we have to trust. In order to complete certain tasks, we have to trust them to complete their share of the task. And again, and my big brother will tell you that I'm quick to do everything. I'm quick. Like, if nobody's else doing it, I'm going to do it. Like, hey, and sometimes I need to slow down and take a look at my surroundings and see what everybody else is doing. And that's what it took my LBs to tell you, like, I was quick to do everything. And they had to tell me, like, slow down, bro. Like, we know you the youngest. We know you could do this, but we all got to do this. And that's when the trust kicked in, because they have my back. Even though I know I sometimes put my foot in my mouth, they always have my back. Like, nah, bro, we got you. And like I said, when we crossed those sands, we had to cross together. And it was a big thing for me because they had my back. Even though it was, I know it's crazy because I tell the story even to my squires to this day. I tell the story where I got flustered. And when I get flustered, I get super mad. And I'm like, I know the answer. I know the question. I know the answer to this question. I'm spitting out right, but I wasn't spitting it out, to the point where my LBs like had to like yank me away, like, calm down. You got this. And that's when it opened my eyes to like, hey, these guys actually got my back. And we actually sat there and said what I had to say over again, constantly, to the point where they was like, yeah, you got it. Now to go say it again. I say it again and I pass. And we cried. Like, I don't cry in front of nobody, and I cried in front of them. And that's where the trust, not only to my LBs, but to this fraternity in general, became more dominant. Like, this is my family, and this, I would go to work for them any day.
Stephen, I want to open it up to you. This next question as well is very much, this sounds, you think fraternity, you think, you think college, but this does sound just like Roymel mentioned, as a family, very much a brotherhood of guys who may not have served together, and especially across generations not served together, but share a common goal, a commonality with military. Can you speak a bit to that?
Yeah. Everybody comes from all different walks of life. We've all come from different branches. So we have that internal beef as far as, when it comes December, we're not friends. It's Army versus Navy time, So, we have that. But everybody had, that common bond of being in the military, helps out, especially, when you're dealing with, mental health issues and things of, depression, and, you may be going through something that a lot of, civilians may not understand. But, our brothers, they understand, and they're just a phone call away. And, there was a time where I went through stuff, and I was able to call my line brothers, 3:00 in the morning. They pick up, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going through it. And they're like, okay, talk to me. What's going on? And just sit and listen. No judgment, no anything like that, and just, they're going to do what they have. And if they don't have the answers for you, they will find the answers or find the person that does have the answers for you. There's like I said, we come from all different walks of life. We come from different generations. There's people that have been in Desert Storm and all that stuff. I was in the 5th grade when Desert Storm kicked off. So learning from them, their experiences over there, comparing them to our experiences with OIF and OEF, and stuff like that. It's just being able to share our experiences is great. And a lot of times, some people don't realize that just being able to talk about your experiences, lets a lot of weight off your shoulders that you may not even know you have, but just being able to talk, freely and someone understanding what you're talking about is key.
You spent 20 years in the Army, and just talking about the other brothers that are in the fraternity and the amount, when they were in generationally, obviously the Army was very different back then. And we could say just in sort of a sort of race relations, idea, but generationally, how have you seen the Army change? And in talking to your brothers in Mu Beta Phi, what does it mean to you that the Army is doing more, but they obviously still have a long way to go?
Right. The Army is changing. I personally think it's turned into more of like a corporate Army. You're kind of more of on a corporate business model type way of thinking. I was one of the equal opportunity leaders for my unit. So a lot of the, things, they repealed the, don't ask, don't tell. So you had a lot of people, come forth, saying they were gay or bisexual or whatever, and it's just, letting them know, it's okay, and being there for them as well. And, expecting them to have your back just as anybody else would, and not treating them any different. You had, sometimes you had those people that can't get with the change at times or don't adapt to change as well, but that's in life in general. But they're trying. I'll give them that, they're trying to do the best they can with evolving. We'll just see, where they go with that.
What was it like being what did you call it? The equal opportunity?
Equal opportunity leader. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the first I've heard of this.
So basically, just making sure our command climate as well, making, we work hand in hand, well, not hand in hand, but like closely with our SHARP team. So which is sexual assault. I can't even remember the acronym. It's been a while, but like sexual assault prevention, sexual harassment and assault prevention. That was, working with them, making sure that soldiers, if something's going on that's not right, speak up. Don't worry about don't snitch, and all that stuff. No, we need to. If you can't trust your person to your left and your right to take care of you, let's say we're out celebrating something and someone gets inebriated or whatever. You're trusting another person to get that person home and take care of them and not take advantage of it. You know what I'm saying? So
totally.
Making sure holding leaders accountable for taking care of their soldiers, holding, make sure they're doing the right thing, and if they're not, the soldiers may be afraid to speak up about it, but they'll tell you in that command climate survey, they'll be quick to, put it out there. So, just making sure the morale is right and making sure everything is transparent and making sure people are on the up and up, pretty much, and making sure, yeah.
What would you say is the biggest lesson that you have taken away from the military that you try to incorporate into Mu Beta Phi? And Roymel, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well, if you're available.
Just being the best and putting your best foot forward. That's like I tell my squires when they're going through it. I'm like, hey, everybody stumbles, everybody falls or whatever. Don't quit. Just put your best foot forward. If we're seeing you're trying and you're putting your best foot forward, we're not going to fault you. Just that's one thing I learned is as a leader, you don't have to be that jerk, of a leader. You don't, they have that term, toxic leadership. I've had some toxic leadership in my career, but what you do is you learn from everybody. You take lessons learned of what the toxic one did so that not to do that. And the ones that the good ones did, you take, pieces of that so that you form your own style of leadership and make sure you're taking care of your soldiers, and I pride myself on, still being able to talk to some of the soldiers that I had still to this day, that say, hey, you really helped me out, Sergeant Church. I appreciate everything you did for me and everything like that. On my Facebook, I got loads of soldiers that I had that we're still friends. So,
Roymel, if are you able to chime in on that? The
Yeah,
biggest
I didn't hear
thing,
the question.
yeah.
I didn't hear the question. What was
So
the
the biggest thing that you feel like is the takeaway from your military service that you've been able to sort of incorporate into your time with Mu Beta Phi?
I guess I'm gonna piggyback off of what my big brother said is trust. Like, again, trust. Like, if you are a good leader, people will follow you. And if you're not, people will talk about you. And during my military career, I could say, like, I didn't trust a lot of my leadership because of what they talked about. And when I finally found the leader, and his name was Sergeant First Class McGinnis, he showed me the right way of doing everything. You don't have to be the loudest in the room to lead. You can actually be the quietest and be the greatest person in the room, and people will flock to you. And that's where I learned, even now even now as the membership coordinator, because I have to be able to articulate what people want and then go from there. And it's kind of hard, but again, I get it. And I'm being a big brother for so long. And my big brother is my mentor. I pick his brain all the time because he's a great leader. And I'm trying to be where he's at one day. And that's all I can do, is just lead from the front by showing guys which way to go and how to do about this. Not saying that they have to do it my way, but they have to do it. It's a certain way to do everything. And I feel like they can articulate what they can from how I lead.
Thank you for that. I also want to spend, we have about 15 minutes left. Scott Masters is in the room with us. He's one of our regulars, gentlemen. He's a Canadian school teacher. What, Todd, you call him as potentially the best Canadian historian?
I call him Canada's best history teacher.
Yes. But Scott had a story that he wanted to share. And then also Henry Shepke has a poem that he would like to share. And this is also in honor of Black History Month. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for the compliment, Todd. I always appreciate that. I wanted to share this photo. It's of an American veteran from the 761st Tank Battalion, the Black Panthers, a World War II vet by the name of Johnny Hawkins. And I've never met Johnny, but the man he's with is a man by the name of Max Eisen, who lives up in Toronto, who I know very well. Max is a Holocaust survivor who just turned 90. And he was liberated at the Ebensee concentration camp in the northern part of Austria by the Black Panthers. And him and Johnny maintained a very close friendship for many years. Johnny passed away about 10 years ago or so, but him and Max would get together, every couple of years, decade after decade. They were at one another's weddings. And I know today Max is definitely thinking about Johnny. Max just turned 90 a few weeks ago, and he owes his life to this man and to the other men of the 761st.
What a beautiful story. And you could look at Johnny's blouse here and see a bronze star and a purple heart. Man.
Yeah.
Wonderful story. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah,
Thank
my
you, Scott.
pleasure.
Henry Shepke, are you still in the room?
Yeah, I'm here.
And did you want to, I think we put your poem here in the chat, but would you like to read it?
Sure, I'll read it.
And it's about Crispus Attucks, just so you know.
Yeah, it's about Crispus Attucks.
Right. Crispus Attucks is attributed as being the first person killed in the American Revolution.
Yeah. And this is a project that I did at school. So I call it first to defy. Born into bondage, freedom not known to an African slave and an Indian mother, deprived of liberty, he yearned for freedom. He struggled on, and at age 27, he brazenly escaped. Alas, a free man, but was he? As a black man in the 1700s, he never saw freedom nor destiny, yet rallied with the Patriots on March 5, 1770. He led a group of sailors, irked and angry, on King Street in Boston. They shouted and they shrieked at a flank of redcoats. Soon chaos erupted and shots rang out through the cold wintry night. A bullet struck him, tore through his chest, reddening the snow. First to defy, first to fall down, his last breath inspired a movement. At the day's end, 5 colonists lay dead and others lay wounded. The colonies erupted in anger and angst, already incensed by British rule, and a movement was started. He knew not, when he dared to defy, that his legacy would endure 240 years later.
What a wonderful poem there, Henry. Thank you very much. That is terrific. Crispus Attucks, one of the fascinating people from history. We know very little about him. He was a slave, as your poem says. His mother was, I think, a Wampanoag Indian. His father was a slave. He did escape, and he became a sailor and a rope maker, and participated in the Boston and was protesting on March 5th, which is coming up this week, and was killed, one of the 5 colonists killed in the Boston Massacre. Henry, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks
Good.
for letting me read my poem.
Yeah, it's good to see you again. Haven't seen you in a while. So it's great to have you back on. And I want to also say, I'm going to put up my screen before we end here. I also want to let people know that we have scheduled another round 2, game 2 of our VBC Jeopardy night. This will be Saturday, March 26th. And we are getting some teams together. Some people on the program tonight might be invited to be on a team. And we're going to have 3 teams of 3 compete against one another. You'll know that we had so much fun last month when we did this. These are military themed questions. And so we're going to do it again Saturday, March 26th at the Zoom channel. So
that was an exciting game. That first game we had, the non-vets were behind the entire time, and brought it out in the end and won on Final Jeopardy.
They won on a technicality. I mean, let's be honest. They won because they didn't put it in. Let's be honest. They didn't put it in.
We can't put an asterisk by their side.
But it was great. Hey, I just want to say, I saw that Larry Woods here in the chat said, I'm really impressed with you guys meeting the Mu Beta Phi. I love seeing what you're accomplishing. You make this old vet proud. That's so great. Does anybody else have any questions for our guest tonight?
You want to raise your hand, or if you want to put it into the chat here. Stephen or Roymel, while we're looking for another question, but how do you become a member of Mu Beta Phi? And is there a Pittsburgh chapter? Can you tell us a bit about how you get in?
I'll speak because that's my subject. There is a process of joining Mu Beta Phi Military Fraternity Incorporated. First, you seek out a membership coordinator or somebody in the fraternity, or you can look us up on Facebook, Instagram. We basically on every type of social media there is. So type in Mu Beta Phi, and then you will ask the question, hey, I want to possibly join. Then we will link you to a membership coordinator in that area. So yes, there is a Pittsburgh chapter called Tri-State. So they're between Pittsburgh, Massachusetts, and I believe Virginia. I could be wrong, but I know Pittsburgh and Massachusetts for sure. And we'll do a diligent process of actually getting to know you, getting to know where you're trying to get out of Mu Beta Phi and what you're trying to put into it. Is it, hey, you want to put into the leadership program? Do you want to get into giving back to the kids? You love giving back to community service? And then once we get you the interview process, then we start your membership process, where you go in and you take a 7-week class. And you get to know the history, get to know the background, get to know the ins and out, and then after that you do your glory week, then you do your burning of the sands, and then you basically become a king after that.
You guys have only been around for 5 years, but you've grown exponentially in that time and even won an award. Is that right?
I'm gonna let my big brother answer that question.
Yeah, I can't remember the name off of the top of my head, but it's like professional fraternities. It's like an organization for that. It's pretty high up there. That's more of a Gregory and Gary's info to put out there.
Yeah.
They could speak more on that than I could. But yeah, I mean, we're doing stuff, getting recognized for community service and things of that nature. I mean, we're moving pretty fast to be so young.
Certainly.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think we're about almost 600 strong here in our small military community, and here on the West Coast, we're still looking to grow. Like I said, we're 18 strong on here, but we always love more members in our court. So if anybody here wants to be a part of it, I'll look my email. I'll send you my email address, and we could talk after this.
What is it about Gary and his leadership that sort of makes you like proud to be a part of Mu Beta Phi?
Short time for me, because I just joined in March of last year and I only been in a year. But short time, he's somebody I can come talk to when I need to talk to him. He'll give you the answer straight up, and he'll be real with you when, even though you want to hear the answer, he's still going to give you the answer you need to hear. And I love him as a brother. We joke a lot, we have fun a lot because he's in the Navy, so I'm always joking on him because he's in the Navy. But at the end of the day, is when it's time to get down to business, we know who to count on to handle the business.
Hey, and on the Facebook side, Greg says that Mu Beta Phi won the 2021 Outstanding Community Service Professional Fraternity Association Award.
Oh, is Gregory joining us from the Facebook side?
Greg and Gary are on the Facebook side.
Hi, gents. It's good to see you guys. I wish I could have had you in the Zoom room tonight, but I'm happy that you're both here with us, joining us on the social medias. It's great to see you guys again. But Todd, I don't know if you had any questions before we wrap tonight.
I don't have any questions, but I just want to say hi to Baltimore. Ben, thank you for joining us from Baltimore. Ben, are you as a Baltimorean or Balmorian, are you as offended by Roymel's New England Patriots jersey as I am?
No, actually, I'm. If I was a true Baltimorean, I'd be offended by most things Pittsburgh. No, but
I told him that.
Yeah, that's the rivalry there. I'm actually one of the very few Detroit Lions fans in this town,
or ever.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think even Detroit has many Detroit
admit
Lions
it.
fans,
Yes,
right?
well, I say I'm a man of deep faith.
Thank you, Ben. Oh man, great stuff. Great.
Yeah, good
night.
to see you again, Ben. It's been a while, so thanks for joining us again. Stephen, Roymel, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor to have you both here to tell your story. And there's so much that we even, that we left that we couldn't get to just due to time, but I'm glad that we were able to talk about, a lot of what you guys went through and also more about Mu Beta Phi, which we just find fascinating here.
Well, thank you for having us. Before I forget, Miss Julia Parsons, you have a very happy birthday. Look great, fabulous, and I hope you enjoy those 101 cards that you get. So, take care. God bless you, and yeah, enjoy your birthday.
Again, piggyback off of what my big brother said, Miss Parsons, it's an honor to have met you. I'm glad you turned 101. You look gorgeous. If I was near you, I'd take you out on a date. But thank you for being a part of our history, and thank you and happy birthday.
Oh, Roymel and Stephen, thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor to have you with us. Join us anytime. Fascinating stories. Thank you, guys, and thank you for the work that you do.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Hey, thank you.
You guys have a great night. We'll see everybody Wednesday morning. Birthday celebration.
What?